The New York Knicks had nothing short of an amazing season, even though it didn't end how the fans wanted. Sure, this team lost in the first round against the Atlanta Hawks, but they showed that their young core was not one to be shrugged off, and that they could compete with some of the best teams in the league. Despite their early playoff exit, this team has tremendous potential for the future, being that this was the first playoff series for almost everyone on this young team. And with that being said, the Knicks have made it clear that they will be looking to make some moves this offseason, and in particular in free agency because they have the most cap space in the league, which, along with the fact that this large market team is relevant again, could sway many notable names into joining the team this offseason and possibly making them a contender sooner than we think. There have been so many names rumored with the Knicks that today I just wanted to discuss some sneaky guards that they could sign, and let me just say that some of these moves could set up the Knicks for big success in the short and long-term plans for this franchise. But before we get into these moves, if you've been enjoying the content lately and would like to support the channel, it would be absolutely clutch if you subscribed if you're new and joined the Woods crew. Here's the stat for you guys to start this video. Over 95% of you guys who've been watching the content consistently aren't even subscribed. So if you just hit that sub button below, I could go full-time very soon and make videos like this daily. Back to the Knicks though, because like I said, this will by far be one of the most interesting teams to follow in the 2021 NBA free agency. Between the cap space, large market, and momentum that this franchise has in general, this Knicks team is finally looking like they can be a legitimate and consistent playoff team if they make a few more moves to complete their roster. With Julius Randle having a breakout year and the progression of guys like Barrett and Immanuel Quickley as well, this team has a core for the future. All they need to do is fill some holes and get a little more star power to be a true playoff team, or maybe even contender. It was clear in the playoffs that the Knicks just weren't ready to make a deep run quite yet, and some of their biggest flaws were exposed, which will definitely help them in this offseason. In my eyes, the Knicks team has great guards for the future, but if they're trying to win now and build their young core up at the same time, they might need to get some more experienced guards so not all the pressure's on Barrett and Quickley. And this is exactly what the Knicks did this year with Derrick Rose, which is why I believe that this is the first guard that the Knicks should target and try and bring back for a few more years. It's no secret that Derrick Rose was one of the better moves that this Knicks team has made in the past year. Rose was clearly going nowhere with the Pistons team, and after Blake Griffin leaving, he wanted to get dealt somewhere where he could win at the highest level. And let me just say, I have a lot of respect for the Pistons because they listened to D Rose's request. I mean, let's be honest, my man doesn't exactly have all the time in the world to get a chip he's been chasing after for a while now. But anyways, getting Derrick Rose was exactly what the Knicks team needed for the playoffs. A veteran guard who could take the pressure off the young guys in the playoffs while also being able to provide insight and advice to these guys. Clearly, Derrick Rose is the perfect fit in New York because not only did he thrive and play some of the best basketball since his injury, but he also meshed in with these guys perfectly and was a leader that they needed. So you'd think that he'd want to run it back and sign a new deal, right? Well, the answer to this is complicated, and it all starts with the fact that there won't be any star guards becoming free agents this summer, which makes the value of guys like Rose go way up. And you just have to wonder if the Knicks would be willing to take a chance and sign Rose on a new deal because he is getting up there in age. Don't get me wrong, I think that the Knicks should make this signing, especially because they already know what Rose can do for them. But they may think otherwise with multiple young guards entering the market this year as well. And some of the guys would be a lot better on the timeline of their young core. But on the side of Derrick Rose, I know for a fact that he is a good bond with Tom Thibodeau, but at this point in his career, Rose wants to win a chip, because who knows how many seasons he has left in the tank. Now, I know that D Rose has adapted his game so he doesn't rely on his athleticism anymore, but now his game revolves around his craftiness and IQ. But despite this, Rose still might want to take his talents to another team that has a better chance at winning it all, like the Lakers or somewhere similar. In my eyes though, the Knicks have a good chance of bringing him back, and I think they should do so if they get the opportunity. Derrick Rose is expected to make an estimated 3-year, $34.5 million deal, which in my eyes means there's no reason why the Knicks don't try and re-sign him. With Julius Randle wanting a new max contract, even after that, the Knicks would still have room to sign Rose to this contract. The big question is though, do they want to bring back Rose who fits perfectly in his role, or target a younger guard like the next one we'll be talking about in Lonzo Ball who would fit on their timeline much better? The Knicks made it clear that they were going to be quote-unquote aggressive in this free agency, but what they didn't indicate is if they plan on targeting younger guys for the future or pieces that aren't necessarily on the timeline of Randle, Barrett, and Quickley but would allow this team to win right now. Well, regardless of what way the Knicks decide to go, it is reported that they are interested in signing Lonzo Ball, and that might be the best move for them to make in the long run. Lonzo Ball has had a far from perfect start to his career. From being one of the most hyped prospects of the decade from LeBron trading him away, Lonzo has already been through a lot in the league despite only being 23 years old. And the Knicks, well, I think they would be one of the best teams for the next chapter in Lonzo's career. When entering the league, although it seemed like Lonzo would be a good fit in the spotlight, he really struggled and even said that it was one of the darkest times of his life. But after being traded to the Pelicans, Lonzo was able to develop his playmaking ability and jump shot to become a solid young guard in today's league, which is exactly what this Knicks team is looking for. Aside from the lack of production from Julius Randle in the playoffs, there were definitely some other issues that were exposed in the Knicks-Hawks series, most of which Lonzo Ball would be able to fix for this team completely. Against the Knicks, Trae Young was nearly unstoppable for his team, and it was clear that they needed a guard that could match up with Trae and play some solid defense on the perimeter, which is exactly where Zoe comes in. Lonzo has shown that he can be one of the better perimeter defending guards in the league, ranking 13th in steals per game this year and having a solid plus-minus on the defensive end of the ball. The Knicks are already one of the best, if not the best best defending teams in the league, and this would elevate it even more and perhaps allow them to be a solidified top seed in the East for years to come. Lonzo has the length and height standing at 6'6" to be one of the better defending guards, and people have definitely forgotten that he's only 23 years old and could become an elite defender before we know it. Lonzo's defense that he would bring isn't the best part of his game though, because as most of you know, he has quickly become one of the best playmakers in the league, which is something that this Knicks team could really use. Throughout the season and against the Hawks in particular, the Knicks often struggled to have flow in their offense, and it was very stagnant when Julius Randle wasn't playing his best. With Lonzo, this would change everything for the Knicks. Zoe would bring passing IQ and perimeter jump shot that the Knicks need badly, and with this versatility, their offense would flow way better, and guys would definitely get a lot more easy buckets because of Lonzo's ability to pass alone. Lonzo is projected to get a 4 to 5 year deal valued at around $18 million per year, which is definitely in the Knicks price range, but could chew up a lot of their cap space and even cut into exceptions if they do it, especially if they sign Julius Randle to a max deal. But what if there was a guard that was the perfect balance between Derrick Rose and Lonzo Ball? Someone who could be the guard for this team over the next few years by allowing them to win now and having veteran presence for the young guys. Well, there is someone that will be available who checks all these boxes and might just be on their way to a championship as we speak. That player being Mike Conley, who to say the least is the best of both worlds for the Knicks in their free agency decision they have to make. Mike Conley is one of the most underrated players in the league, just making his first All-Star game this year, but at age 33, he has shown that he still has plenty left in the tank and can easily be a number 2 option on a championship team. Conley would by far be the best fit for what this Knicks team needs on offense and would make them a legit playoff team right now, and would still allow their young talent to develop and make them a true contender later. Conley would also be able to provide the 3-ball that this team needs desperately like Lonzo, but he also has the playoff experience, which is something that the Knicks clearly lack based on their series against the Hawks alone. And even though Conley is getting up there in age, he is still years younger than similar guards like Kyle Lowry and Chris Paul, who both have contributed to championship or deep playoff teams in recent years, which shows that the Knicks shouldn't be afraid to throw Conley a nice deal for 4 years. Now, by no means is Mike Conley a max contract player at this point, but some teams may offer him that just to secure him away for half a decade. In my eyes though, the Knicks could definitely get away with signing him for a long-term 4-year contract valued at around $27 to $30 million per year. If you guys have watched the Utah Jazz this year, you would know just how good Mike Conley has been, and that this is well worth it. And based on his play, some are even going as far as saying that he has had nearly the same impact on this team as Donovan Mitchell, which is why many fans are upset that he hasn't been able to play against the Clippers just yet. With that being said though, even though it is a large deal and commitment to sign Conley, it would well be worth it for the Knicks because they would get their guy for the next few years. In my eyes, the Knicks could easily make this light overpay because the Jazz have way too much committed to Mitchell and Gobert to match this deal, and the shooting and playmaking Conley would bring along with his experience alone would increase the ceiling of this team tremendously, especially in the playoffs. It's safe to say that this Knicks team has options. They could run it back with Derrick Rose, get an even better veteran in Conley, or go young with someone like Lonzo. Regardless of what this team does though, in my eyes, these 3 signings are the best and most realistic options at the guard position, and all of these would set up the Knicks perfectly to take the next step in their rebuild and transition to a consistent top-seeded playoff team. Let me know down below which guard you would sign if you were the one deciding, and if you would like me to make another video regarding the other non-guard targets this team should have, let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to subscribe if you're new and join the Woods crew. But other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. Woods out.